Three, two, one. Welcome back to another episode of the Statues Podcast. I'm your host, Denang.
And I'm your co-host, Crystal.
For today's episode, we're gonna try something a little different. We're going to add a video component to this episode to see how that works. It could change throughout the next couple episodes just to test run here and there, but hopefully you guys like it. Let's go ahead and start this episode with a video clip.
The goal is not to be successful and famous. That's not the goal. The goal is, if you have a specific God-given ability, is to live your life out through that.
Right.
Yeah, so that clip was Jay-Z.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've never heard him speak. If he does, I've always heard him speak, but more so like after he's rapping, and then he still has that
Yeah.
that like persona, that
I mean,
that voice.
It's
So it
still
sounds-
the same, and they're both still the same. But there was a reason why I picked that clip because what he says there, I think I can relate to it quite a bit, just because I think within the last couple years here, I've come to realize this. I've come to realize that everyone has a God-given ability. Okay, like if I were to think of it in a way that would make people understand, it would be like everyone has a superpower. Just some don't discover it till later. And for myself, it took me a while to discover it. I was in my late 20s before I discovered it. You know, I'm turning 29 now, and I've only now known how to use those abilities. Like, do you know what I mean?
Sort of.
Okay, so I spent my late teen years and my early 20s developing these abilities, and these abilities range from social skills to skill sets that I've learned from media and from my time in media. So even putting together the concert that we just did Saturday, I've come to realize that not many people know how to do it or have the confidence to be able to do it.
Okay.
And I feel like that is a God-given ability. Is the confidence to do something, the confidence that you have and can use. Right? And these to me, they're like your everyday superheroes, right? Like, we have those that are motivational speakers. We have those that are really good at business. Those that are really good at cooking, baking. You know, those to me is like a superpower. Those are your God-given abilities. And the goal isn't to be rich and famous. You know, it's exactly like he says. The goal isn't to be rich and famous. The goal is to use these God-given abilities to assist you within life. And I've come to realize that within the last couple years here. For myself, I've come to understand that working in media, there isn't a lot of money behind it. But because you start to understand these things, you learn to live within the means of what you're doing. So, let's say, for example, you're a really good cook. And being a good cook doesn't make much money. But if you live within the means of being a good cook, and you're a good cook, and you use your God-given abilities, every day that you're working isn't really work. You enjoy going to work. The way I enjoy doing what I do.
It's like finding your like favorite thing to do, I guess, as a hobby, and then turning that into a job. But doesn't feel like a job because you truly enjoy it.
Yeah. But it's also knowing how to live within the means of what you're doing.
So like knowing your own personal limitations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, you have, if I were to take it, right, you have these students who, right now, as of now, you're a student, but they live above their means. They're going out every night to eat. They're going out to party. They're going out to do this. They're going out to do that. But they don't have a means of making a wage to suffice for that life. So what happens? They go broke. They start to, get depressed because of it. And this is what I mean is by when you understand what you love to do, and these are your God-given abilities, and you're able to use your God-given abilities to help you in your life. Because it's exactly like Jay-Z says, don't strive for rich and famous. If you strive for rich and famous, are you really going to be happy? Everyone, it's like this whole thing, right? Is everyone jumps on a Bitcoin craze, everyone jumps on the real estate craze, but do you enjoy it?
Yeah.
If you don't enjoy it, you'll do it for a couple of years and then you'll bounce because you're done. And then what happens? You bounce from one thing to another thing to another thing to another thing. It becomes a fad.
Yeah, but even that, like going into it without prior knowledge of what it is that you're kind of getting into.
And it's okay to test the waters, right?
Of course.
Because for my career, I've tested the waters many times. Everything within media, I've tried to learn how to do. And there are things that I love doing, and there's things that I don't know how to do, and I just don't really enjoy it.
Yeah.
But being able to test the waters has allowed for me to give me a definite on what I love to do within my life.
Yeah, because I feel like without really trying different things out, you don't really know what you like or don't like. And then you stay in that circle of constantly doing things where you just hate, but you're just doing it just to do it. You're not really living life either. And that's like a whole like conversation on its own too.
Yeah, exactly. And, when you listen to what Jay-Z says there, I think this is something that a lot of people don't think about. They do think about being rich and famous because they think that being rich and famous is going to solve a lot of the issues that they have.
I feel like when you're rich and famous, you got 10 times more problems that that you will have than you were when you're like poor
Yeah,
per se.
because no one, I don't want to say no one, but I want to say majority of the people that are rich and famous, they did not strive to be rich and famous. What they strived to be was the best version of them that they could be.
Or
So
at least have like a comfortable life.
yeah, exactly. So like, and what I mean by this, right, is artists that are rich and famous, they didn't strive to be a rich and famous artist. They strove to be the best artist that made them rich and famous. That's what I mean. Is when you strive for what you want to do in life, you'll eventually get to that point, but that wasn't your goal. You just happen to get there because the best version of you was that version of you. And like when I think about it, and it took me a long time. Like I said, I'm in my late 20s, and I've only started to now realize what I want to do with my life again. I've gone through many phases of my career where I've learned how to do this. I've learned how to do that. I'm still doing this, and I'm still doing that. But putting together the concert for the last 3-4 months here has allowed for me to understand a lot more about myself than maybe the last 2-3 years.
Yeah, I feel like this concert changed you a lot in a good way because at first it's like we said, it just started off as a joke. We didn't think it was going to go far, and then like through like the process of it all and you helping and then talking to people and also looking at the numbers and how well the response was, like the response from like in like the 4 to 5 days of like the concert, it grew so quick, and I saw how that motivated you to try and do the best that we could to even during those last few days, you know? So I feel like this concert, like I said, helped you a lot, and you kind of, it sounds weird, but you like matured and you grew even more.
And when I started this concert, I had no idea what I was doing. I had never done something like this before.
I feel like you've done it before, but not where you kind of staged everything
Yeah.
from the beginning, because you were involved in the process of helping, setting up concerts. You were more behind the scenes, but everything was already laid out.
Yeah.
This was you having to
Do
lay
everything.
exactly lay out the foundation, and then finding people, and then now trying to like trying to orchestrate the entire event from scratch.
Yeah. And I think that's what drove me again, right? Because when at the beginning of my career, when I started, that's what I loved about what I was doing. But I think throughout someone's career, you go through a phase where your original goal no longer becomes your primary goal. It becomes like secondary, third, it's just there. But eventually, I think the more you go through a career and the more you discover more about yourself because of what you're doing, you start to get back on track to that original goal. Because my original goal when I first started media was to go back to my community and build a strong community. That's what I wanted to do. But in doing so, I was still young and I didn't have the experience to be able to come in and say, okay, this is what I want, this is what I want, and this is what I want. And not many people were going to listen to me.
I feel like losing sight is normal in the process, but it's been helpful because you kind of like I feel like when you start off, like you're like fresh, you're full of drive, but then life happens, life happens, career changes, and people come and go, companies fail, like all that stuff happen, and then it kind of just push that goal further in the back of your mind. But at the same time, the journey to lead you back to where you started has been a journey. I feel like for you, like as someone that's watched you and been there through the whole step,
Yeah.
it's helped you a lot too, because the drive
Oh, definitely.
is better and stronger than it was when you first started, because you realize, oh shit, like I detered away from that road and that goal that I wanted. But now that I'm back on track, I've lost so much time, but now I'm going to go at it with more drive, more heart into it.
Yeah. And I think that was the difference, right? Because when I first started in media and my original goal, I knew it wasn't going to work because number one, I didn't have the experience to come in and help. Because the thing about my community is that it's a set structure and no one's going to come in and destroy that structure. That's how it's always been.
Yeah.
But now that I've been through enough in my life to understand certain things about myself and to fix certain things about myself. So when I first started this, I cared too much. And it might sound a little weird, right? It sounds a little weird coming from me. I cared too much. So when I put things in, I was expecting other people to give back. But when it didn't happen, it destroyed that part of me. But then throughout life and going through my 20s like that and learning a lot about myself, now I've learned to care about people, but now take away the factor of you don't need anything now. Anything that you do need, you can do it yourself.
Yeah.
That you are now strong enough, you mentally, physically, emotionally, to do whatever you want, and you can do it yourself. And that I don't need other people to go and achieve it for me or to give it to me. And so now that I've come to this point, it's like, now let me go back to my community, because now I'm not expecting anything. Now what I expect is everything that I put in. And that's, and like, I think this is the difference between who I was. Wait, how old am I?
You're 28,
28?
turning 29.
So this is the difference between me 7-8 years ago and me now, is that the life experiences and the things that I've gone through in my career have helped me adapt to be this person. And because of this concert, it's also allowed for me to see a lot more things in the business world and how I can use that for my people.
Yeah. I feel like a lot of people would feel maybe sad for you, because it's like you said, your spirit was so crushed at the beginning, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and it's something that not a lot of people can kind of get out of because I'm not gonna name anybody, but these people that you worked with were very close to you, you know. And it's not that you have bad relationships with them. If anything, you've gone back, you fixed the relationship. But there are some that I feel you haven't gotten there yet, and so these people were like family to you, because of how small the community is, and it really hurt that it was your own friends, your own family, your own people that hurt you, but you also learned a lot, and it might sound cruel, but it's a part of life, and now you know not to let people take advantage of you like that again too.
Mm-hmm. And look, and I'm not gonna say that.
It's
I,
not your fault, and you've accepted that too, though.
well, and this is where I say, right, is it was my fault, and
Mm-hmm.
it wasn't my fault. There were certain things that were my fault, and there are certain things that weren't my fault. And in that fact, I've come to understand the good and the bad of everything that has happened in my life.
Mm-hmm.
I've also come to understand the consequences, and I've taken those consequences, taken a huge hit with those consequences. That's why it's taken me 7 to 8 years to recuperate and better myself.
Yeah.
This whole concert I put together on my own. I learned everything from scratch, from beginning all the way into the end. And yes, did we have technical difficulties during the concert? We did.
But that's normal, though.
Yeah, but that's normal. And now that I know what these technical difficulties are, the next time I do something like this, I know exactly what I'm looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the step that is necessary for personal progression.
Mm-hmm.
Because now that I know what I want and I know how I want to do things, it's not going to stop me from doing what I'm going to be doing.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was talking to you about the business plan.
And I think it's great, though, is that, you didn't really have this in mind at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
but then during the 3 to 4 months of us working on the concert, you brought it up a few times before, but yesterday when you talked about it and you laid out like the gist of it and the plan, and then you broke it down to me, I said, that's not a bad idea, because you're not getting enough exposure, you're not getting enough how do I say this, I don't want to use fame, but like for the people in your community, because they're very good, and because of how small the community is, it, this business plan can help spread more awareness to your people.
Yeah. And the way I see it, and I've seen it for a long time, is I think I've taken a lot of influence from the Latin community, and I've taken a lot of influence from the Korean community.
Mm-hmm.
And this is something that I'm very grateful for, is being able to have worked within the actual Korean industry in Toronto
Mm-hmm.
and seeing it firsthand.
Yeah.
And then shifting away from that and working in the Canadian market and seeing how hard that was.
Yeah.
And being able to do that has actually helped me shape a lot of the way I think.
But I feel like that's because you see the good and the bad of how each industry works.
Mm-hmm.
Because there are a lot of great benefits to it too. At the same time, the dark side is like, ooh, it's not that great, but what it's like, and you don't want that to happen to yourself, but
Yeah.
also to, if you're trying to do what you do, to have that seep into the that industry.
Yeah. And like I want to say, right, is when you listen to what Jay-Z says, the goal is not to be rich and famous, but the goal itself is to use your God-given abilities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everyone's focus on being rich and famous is rich and famous today. So, like I said, Bitcoin, investing, like all that kind of stuff.
So like instant fame.
Instant rich.
Yeah.
Okay. Fame comes when like, for example, like you have TikTok and you have these people that go on TikTok and they're like, oh, excuse me, you have people on TikTok that go on TikTok and oh, buy my package, buy my program, and I'll teach you how to be rich and famous this way and that way.
Oh yes.
And they go on TikTok and they're like, oh, this is the 3 steps to investing in real estate.
So like an instant media growth like influencer.
Yeah,
I know
kinda.
what you're talking
Yeah,
about. Yeah.
because that's the way everyone is going now. Because it's a fad. It's happening right now. It's working right now, and so everyone's in real estate. But there's a lot in real estate that people don't understand. So when they get into it and then they get in shit for it, they're not willing to take the consequences. They go and they start blaming this person for saying this person for saying that. And that's what's happening, right? But now if we focus on our God-given abilities, and I know a lot of people that have these God-given abilities, like for example, someone that we're going to be bringing onto the podcast hopefully soon, Colin.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
When you look at his content and you look at how he is as a content creator, that's a God-given ability. Everything that he does is a God-given ability. The way he takes pictures, the way he films, the way it's so cinematically looking. And then you have people like Valerie, who their God-given abilities within their art style. You see how cute her art looks. You see how nice everything looks. These are God-given abilities by people who are willing to trust that God-given ability to take them to that next level.
It's like trusting the process,
Yeah.
which a lot of people, I feel like they do, but at the same time, excuse me, if they feel rushed, you know, especially we've talked about this a few times on the podcast, where for you, you know, you grew up in that mindset of, because you're getting older, everything feels rushed.
Yeah.
You know, but there are people that, you know, feel rushed and they don't really trust that process because it takes a while to get there, you know, like, and for you, I feel like it's taking you a while to get to here, you know,
Oh, it's
trusting the process.
and that's something that a lot of people have to do is can you trust the process no matter how long it takes? The process is not going to be a fast and easy process. The process will always be a very long and strenuous journey. But if you can trust that process, you will eventually get to a point where you can learn to love everything that you are.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like there was a clip of Chadwick Boseman and he says that exact same thing. Is if you're willing to take the long road, the hard road, then everything that you learn during that hard and long road will eventually help you right at the end. Because at the end of the day, if you take the easy route, and let's say that easy road is, you know, an analogy of there's a bridge. You're not willing to build the bridge. You just wait for people to build the bridge so that you walk on it. But the people that built the bridge also know everything about that bridge. So let's say, for example, there's some structural problem.
Yeah.
Only they know where that structural problem lies within that bridge. But the person that takes the easy road is going to walk across that bridge and is going to fall because they don't know.
Yeah.
And that's what life is like. Is when you take the easy road, you get to the end, you'll realize how hard everything is. And then everything comes crashing down on you. The anxiety, the depression, the weight of everything that you don't know.
Yeah.
And I think this is something that I had gone through in my early teens and 20s. And I think because of it, I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful because having gone through this during my early 20s has allowed for me to get up stronger in my late 20s. And now kind of define certain things for myself now, where when I look at my career, I know exactly what I want to do tomorrow now. All these business plans, yeah, it's already started. I've already started building it. And where do I see this going? Revolutionizing a lot within my culture and within my heritage and my community. But this doesn't come easy. It took me this long. And that's where I feel like some people are not willing to do. Is take the long road because they're they're stretched out on time, you know?
Or like thirsting to, because I feel like now more than ever, like just how I feel and what I see is that people are, there's a thirst to get it instantly, instantly, because they, it's like we've talked about it before. They only see the end product, never the beginning and the middle.
Yeah.
And so they want it instantly to try to, get that fame or that money. And it's sad because you miss out on your own personal growth in the beginning and the middle, you know?
Yeah. And look, like I get it. Everyone wants to be rich and famous. Everyone wants to have it now. And there are times where I look at my life and I'm like, damn, I could use the money right now. Okay, but I'm not gonna go and I'm not going to give up everything that I've worked so hard for just for a momentary moment, like a moment of money,
Yeah.
a moment of relief, because what I'm working for is a lifetime of that, and it might take me another 10 years. But I would rather it take me another 10 years and I have the formula down and pat. And so anytime anything happens, I know exactly where to pick up from. And that's what I've come to realize is a lot of people that do follow their passions and do follow that God-given ability, no matter how many times they fall, they know exactly how to get back up and where to start again. But a lot of the people that take that easy road when they fall, that's the hardest because now you're starting all over again from nothing because you don't know nothing. And and I'm going to continuously bring this up, but this concert has shown me a lot about myself too. This concert was like the Rubik's Cube for me. Can I do it? Can I trust myself to do this? Could I trust myself to make something this big? Some people might not think it's big, but to us, it was huge. To us and to my community, it was huge.
Yeah, no, I was worried because a lot could have gone wrong.
Oh, yeah.
And technical difficulties I knew was going to happen because this was the first time that well, for me personally, I have done anything like this. So I was really worried and I was really like stressing out. I'm like, oh man, like this has to go well, I mean, it's like I told you to, regardless of if it wasn't successful or not, I think it's successful because
Yeah.
nobody has done something like this. And I'm just speaking for what I've seen and heard too. No one has done something like this for your community out of pocket willingly. You paid for everything, and it's not about like compensation or bragging either.
Yeah.
It's not about the bragging or compensation, but you did this out of pocket. You paid for everything out of pocket, and the like for us to raise money too, and for a charity of our choice, I think it really was successful because more people watched us and a lot of people donated, and it, for me, the numbers spoke about how successful this was.
Yeah.
And we've said all the time, it's not about the numbers or anything, but to me, the fact that like 150 people were constantly watching us, that's 150 people that believed in us, that it was going to work.
Yeah. This is the first time for me doing something like this for my people, okay? And I say that as someone who is not in tune with his community and not in tune with anything that my people do. This concert brought a lot of light to that.
Yeah.
And having the concert bring light to it also enlightened me to look at certain things differently. And what I saw the night of the concert was a very supportive and growing community. A supportive community for those that are willing to take the chance on the community. And that to me was the most beautiful thing. To me, it was the most absolute beautiful thing, was being able to see a supportive community support people that they didn't know, an organization that they didn't know, but come together for one night to support the cause.
You know, a lot of people, and you've said it too, that like when your community, especially in the States, you know, they hear that there's a community here in Canada, they're surprised. They're surprised because there's not much that happens. You know, people here in Canada know what goes on in the States.
Yeah.
You know about all the like events, parties, even about family drama, you know? But if it's the other way, vice versa, nobody knows anything. Nobody hears anything because nothing is being done, you know? Nothing is no effort is being put in.
Yeah. And I think that's what made, like, when I came across that clip, I think that's what spoke to me was when he was talking about a God-given ability. And for the first time in a long time, I looked at myself and I was like, damn, I have the God-given ability.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, I've always seen it as, oh, other people can do this job. And they could, but they didn't. And that's kind of where now I sit at is we did it. We did it as one of the first organizations in Canada to have done something like this. And this is only a stepping stone for something way bigger.
Mm-hmm.
And,
And like our company isn't even associated to the actual association.
Mhm.
Like we're not even involved at all. We're no way like affiliated.
we're not affiliated to the organization that's here in Canada.
Yeah.
Everything that we did was from ourselves, for ourselves, and then for the cause that we wanted it to be.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what mattered to me the most was being able to use the name so proudly, Statues Collective and the Ilundu concert.
Mm-hmm.
For the first time in a long time, I felt value in everything that we did that night. I saw how nervous the girls were performing, and I saw how nervous the host was. But I also saw how proud everyone was when we finished.
Yeah, everyone said that it was a great show.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like a lot of people had, you know, some complaints, you know, like the echoes
Mm-hmm.
or, you know, the lack of sound
Mm-hmm.
or the like the l- the disbalance.
Yeah, it
Like
was a lot of
in
just
audio.
technical difficulties.
Exactly, but at the end of the day, they still enjoyed it so much. Like, cause as I was doing the audio, you making sure that the levels were correct, and I had the live chat opening because I needed to make sure, you know, everybody was so happy, they enjoyed it, you know, and every single time like an artist came up to sing, you know, that they were cheering. And even for our girls too, you know, that have never sang like this in their
Yeah.
life,
Yeah.
you know.
And that's what I was super proud of was these girls are not artists. These girls are not singers. These
No.
girls barely know the language.
Your sisters doesn't sing, she
Mhm.
doesn't listen to Hmong music. Like if your parents play it, she'll listen to it, but if it was up to her, she doesn't play it at all. So when I see someone like your sister or someone like your cousin, you know, who does family concerts, and when she does it, they every everybody was so supportive of these girls, and they were saying that, you know, they sing so beautifully. I'm just saying, if it was another, you know, like it was, if it was outside of the community, and if they were you know, it, a lot of people would not be happy because they're not trained professionally.
But I think that was what was so beautiful and what the concert stood for, right? Because and for some people that don't know, right? We had a virtual concert Saturday, August 14th at 7 p.m. That concert, we called it the Ilundu concert. And what that means in English is under one sky. And that's what it was about, was my community is so scarce. We don't have a country of our own. We don't have a flag. Our culture and our heritage is dying slowly. And for one night, I wanted to unite my community from all across the world under one sky for one night. And we were able to do that. We brought people from Thailand, from Laos, from all across the United States. And we were able to bring our girls and a a male representative from our community here in Canada. We were able to unite for one night, and that's what it stood for. And these girls and Max.
He's the youngest.
Yeah,
Out
Max
of
was
all
the youngest.
of us.
Was youngest out of everyone.
I think a lot of people in the comments were surprised that he was playing. Is it like a flute?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
the Hmong flute.
yeah.
They were all surprised that he could play it so well too, because from what I've heard from you is that not a lot of people have taken up to learn to play this instrument.
and maybe they do in the States, but not here in Canada.
Yeah, no.
In Canada, my culture is a dying thing. And that's what was sad for me, right? Was when we started this, I looked at it from my point of view, where it was like, oh man, I killed my culture and I killed my heritage. I killed it by not learning. I have a father and a mother that is still alive, and I wasn't willing to go to them and be like, hey, can you teach me? And so, from my point of view, I wanted to bring more awareness to it so that people like myself and people like my sister who we don't know the language can learn the language.
But I don't blame you. Excuse me. I don't blame you fully on not willing to learn at the young age, because there wasn't anything for you to be proud of. Because like you've told me, you weren't the biggest fan of your culture and your traditions until you went to the States, and you really saw how it was like to be Hmong over there. And so that was when you learned to be proud. But at that point, people can, in your eyes, it was a little too late because you were like already in your early 20s.
Yeah.
So it's like I said, I don't blame you, because there wasn't much here for you to be proud of, because there isn't events, there isn't, like a huge, how do I say this? Like,
There wasn't a huge community to bring anything.
yeah, there wasn't much of a presence anyways.
Yeah. And so that's where this concert came into play was, okay, fine. If there wasn't a presence and I keep complaining about this presence not being here in Canada, then let me change that. Let me be the deciding factor to myself and to everything that I've said these years. Let me change it today. And so when my cousin brought up that opportunity, I was like, okay, let's do it. You know what? Started off as a joke, but now we got it. We gonna do this. And we did it.
You emailed somebody the night before we
Mm-hmm.
brought it up. You got a response back, actually.
Mm-hmm.
And you decided, hey, like, this could actually work.
Yep.
Like, let's bring it up to the table. Let's see what happens. And the surprising thing is that the person that responded back
It wasn't even a part of the concert.
Yeah, they dropped out like
Mm-hmm.
last minute, and so
But we still had a great lineup of
We
people
did.
who stood for the cause. And that's what I was amazed about, was we as Hmong Canadians have never seen something like this from my own community.
Mm-hmm.
And so for me to do it was kind of like, I have the power to do it. This isn't the end now. This is only the start. This is only the beginning. There's so much more that we can do now.
yeah, what made this concert, even for me, and like in my eyes, I thought it was 10 times more successful, because one of the artists actually like allowed us to do a release for his song.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never been heard of before until the day of the concert. And that for me is like a huge step, because this is like, he's never heard of us. He's never seen like the company do anything. And so the fact that this is trust, though. Like,
Yeah,
it really is about trust, is that he trusted a complete group of strangers to play and
Release his new song.
exactly. And so this was a huge step. I was, when you told me, I was like, man, like I'm shocked because we're strangers.
Yeah.
Like, you only do that for people that you know, and that you've already built trust in.
Yeah.
So this was really just pure blind trust in hoping that things were going to be successful, and it did. Like, it really was.
Yeah. And look, like, this is what I mean by, like, this is why I was so inspired and motivated by the clip, was because rich and famous is never something I want. I've never ever wanted to be rich and famous. But what I want now more than ever is to use my God given abilities to shine light on a lot more that's out there. And now that, I've gone through what I've gone through in my own life, there's a lot that I'm not expecting. I'm not expecting people to give me anything anymore because I know that I can do it for myself.
Yeah.
And so when I take this step forward and do what I want to do, and hopefully it succeeds, and do what I want to do, and if it succeeds, then I've succeeded in what I wanted to do. And to me, like, as of late, yeah, because of the pandemic, majority of my profits were cut because of the pandemic, but it's also made me realize, okay, this is this is my means. This is what I'm making. Let's just live under it. And you and I, we've suited perfectly. And there's never a day where I look at my life and I'm like, I wish I had that, or I wish I had this. Because when I look at my life now, I'm like, damn, things that were broken are being fixed. Things that I didn't have before, now I do have. And none of that is materialistic. A lot of it is family. A lot of it is support. A lot of it is, like, doing what we're doing here, this podcast. We're doing this. And the fact that we can do it, this is a God-given ability.
Yeah.
And I've been able to see that more than ever. Being able to see these girls go up on stage with no prior experience, let alone my sister who has never spoken the language, sang in her life, ever. Been able to see that has opened my eyes to the billions of possibilities that lay right in front of my eyes.
Yep.
And I got to see that. And now, like, I think once you see certain things, it opens your mind to the billions of possibilities that lay. And now it's about taking every opportunity and using those opportunities in a way that is helpful.
Yeah.
In a way that contributes to my ethics and my morals, so that I can continue to do the good that I want to do. I think when it comes down to entrusting your God-given abilities, I think Saturday was one of the days where, for the first time, I saw everyone entrust everyone.
We had to trust, though.
Yeah.
We really had to trust in our team to really pull through and make it successful. Like I said, they were nerves. They were definitely nerves. Really, the nerves built up 30 minutes before when we.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. The nerves built up when we started the live stream, so that people could queue and just wait.
Yep.
So the nerves really built, and I felt that I was getting so sick, and like, I was making sure the girls were okay. Like, Max was good. I mean, not really Max, because I didn't know what to do, but I needed to make sure that they were okay, because they were so nervous, and I was feeling it too. I said, hey, if you need to take a breather, go outside, take a deep breath, okay?
Yeah.
Because it's gonna be fine. You girls have practiced this over and over and over for so long now, okay? You know it by heart. Trust in the process. Trust that all that practice, all that time and effort you've put into this, it's going to pay off.
And like this, I think what I saw during this concert was something that was a rarity, right? Because everyone on that, everyone that was a part of the concert, and from our side, everyone
Mm-hmm.
had no experience in anything. You
Yeah.
had never you had never done audio before. Selena had never done production, like stage production before.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these girls have never sung before. They've never even sang in front of a mic before, let alone putting together a concert that was going to be streamed all across the world for my community to watch and for the other communities that were watching, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And
Our MC pulled through too, because she only joined like 3 weeks before the concert, like
mhm,
like almost a month before. And like for an MC, that's really last minute,
yeah,
because you gotta start practicing and making sure that whatever it is that you're gonna say, it's done right. And like I've said it before, for the Hmong language, it's the translation, it really varies depending on
yeah,
which dialect that you speak, or how your family says things too, because there's not one way to describe a word. Like, you guys don't have a dictionary. So for her, she had a very difficult job, because she really had to get it together and making sure that things were done, like the translation was done properly.
yeah.
And so, she really pulled through. No matter how nervous she was, she really did a good job.
Yeah, everyone did such an amazing job.
Mhm.
And I think that's what kind of pushed me in a different direction with my mindset. Because with my mindset, it's always been a very, a little arrogant, where it was kind of just like, oh, you know what you're doing, so trust that you know what you're doing.
Mhm.
But for you girls, I didn't know if you guys knew what you were doing.
Oh, I
And I had
definitely
to,
didn't. I was
but
so
I had to
nervous.
trust that you girls could learn and do it. And for the first time, I had to let myself, I had to, I have this problem with my anxiety where I always have to be in control.
Uh-huh. You That's how you've always been, but that's because you know the quality that you want, and
Hmm.
you can't. It's not that you don't trust me or
Yeah.
anybody else, but you trust us, but you don't trust in the fact that the results are going to be how you want it to, because you are a perfectionist. I don't blame you for that
Hmm.
either, because you want quality rather than quantity.
Yeah.
And so when you let me touch the audio interface, I was so nervous. And you saw, like, I was shaking, like I was
Yeah.
really shaking. But
But
for
once
once
once you
you
got it,
let go, you actually let go, and you were like, okay, beyond this point, I gotta man the computer. I gotta
hmm
make sure that things are done properly. And so you really needed to trust us and make sure, and allowed us to do our jobs
yeah.
properly.
And like I think being able to do that has allowed for me to understand a lot more about myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I had to let go of control to allow for other people to control certain parts of the concert so that everything was going to work in unison.
Yeah.
And even with technical difficulties, yeah, it's going to happen, but we made the concert happen from start all the way until the end. And
Yeah.
that was the first time, like my aunt was there, Max's mom.
Yeah, and
Yeah. And
I think she was surprised.
she was very surprised because I heard her say to my mom, wow, he's always been a quiet kid. And to see him, now look at him, like, take charge. And I sat there and I was like, oh, this is the first time that I'm not taking charge.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time where I'm trusting in my team to do this. That I'm going to trust everyone to do their part. And that let me work on what I need to work on. And it worked. And, you know, I want to even say that is a God given ability, is trusting people, to entrust your anxiety.
Yeah, because trust is really hard to
Yeah.
to let go of, especially when you've been in control for so long, and you kind of know what you want. And it's not a crime. It really isn't, because
Hmm.
like I said, it's quality over quantity, but learning to trust is very difficult, because for you, trust has been broken quite a bit of time.
Hmm.
You putting your trust in others get their work done, or to not, screw you over. It's been hard, and I totally get it. And honestly, you did a good job in letting go, because, and I know how that feels like, because I was like, okay, like, I know what it is, and I've worked with you for a very long time. I know what you want, and so if you let go of the trust you have, I was nervous about letting go of that trust too, because I know how you want it, and so I was like, man, like, things need to go right, okay? Like, there were things where, like, I was telling, like, Selena, like, hey, this is kind of what, is like the I was telling her, this is how we need to tape up each girl's.
Mm-hmm.
This is how things are. This is how the mic needs to be. And so it's not that I don't trust her. I do, but I couldn't, because she's never done something like this before. Especially her. I I was afraid of letting go of that trust too, because I didn't want anything to go wrong,
Yeah.
especially with how the camera positions were. There was very little leeway for the girls to go and get off the stage, the next one to come up, and we need to prep them.
Yeah.
But sorry, things worked out well.
No,
It really did.
and I think that came with a lot of trust.
It had to.
Each and every person knew what their role was, and they stuck within their role, and they did exactly what their role entitled. And when we talk about rich and famous, none of us wanted to be rich and famous from this. What we all wanted was the same thing. And for the first time working with people, this was the first time where it was like we all wanted the same thing.
Yeah.
Instead of working with people that, like had, oh, I want to do this and I want to have this and I want to have this, it was more so each and every single person knew what this concert was about, knew what this concert was meant.
Because it wasn't about the money. We all knew that we weren't going to get any kind of monetary compensation.
And any monetary compensation that we did get from like donations was going to go directly to the charity that we picked.
Oh yeah, no, 100% of the donations were going back. Like, it's not filling up our pockets. That's why, like, this concert was very successful, because we all had the same goal. Well, for you guys more so, because I'm not Hmong. So for me, I grew up in the Vietnamese community, very very involved.
Yeah.
So for me, because of how big my community is, I didn't understand, like, that deep need to I lied, let me rephrase. I understood, but my fire wasn't as strong. I don't know if those were the right words, just because I didn't know how that felt like, because I was so involved and my community is already big.
Yeah.
So for you guys, the fire was different, but the understanding of, we're not getting paid for this, and we just want the exposure. We want to make sure that your people and the beautiful culture and the traditions were being seen and heard. That was there for all of you guys. And it really shined that night.
And when I think about it, I think this was one of the proudest moments of my life and the achievements of my family, right? Because this was almost like a family project, and the fact that we were able to put it together, I think it was one of the most proudest things that we could ever say.
Yeah, because this really is a family project, because your cousin is, I mean, the singer is your cousin. The other one is your sister, and the last singer is your brother's girlfriend. And Max is
it's a very good family.
It's pretty much family, because his dad, your uncle, is your dad's like best friend since what, like high school or something.
They're like brothers at that point.
Yeah, exactly. So this really was a family project, and it's not that we couldn't outsource to other people. There just wasn't there outside of family to really.
Well, and when we did reach out, I think one of the requirements that I wanted was to sing in Hmong.
Yes.
We don't have that, and I was okay with that. I was perfectly okay with that, because that night we were able to show my community here in Canada that, hey, we don't know the language either, but we learned it for this concert. So any excuse that we make from now on is not a valid excuse.
It's about the effort that you put in because,
Yeah.
you know, I've noticed, out of the three singers, because your brother's girlfriend,
She speaks the language.
she speaks the language, so for her, she knew it. But for the other two singers, they they s- they speak it, but not well enough.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, they've apologized, for, butchering if they did, certain words. But it's not about that. It's about making the effort to learn. And a lot of people were like, hey, like, you girls did beautiful, because it's about effort.
Yeah.
It's about trying, because if you don't try, you don't know. And everyone was forgiving, you know? It's like I said, I keep saying it, but it really was beautiful to see the response, and to see the overall outcome. Everybody was beautiful that night. Everybody did amazing, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. And like it's like I said, right? Is excuse me. When we talk about God-given abilities, this is what I'm talking about. A God-given ability is the ability to be a superhero for yourself. When I look at my sister and what she did, she was a superhero for herself to prove to people that, we don't know the language, but she learned it. And for someone like my cousin, who is like, she's a nervous wreck, but stood up there for 100 and something people to sing
Yeah.
live.
She was really stressed out the week before,
Yeah,
because
and even the host, like to stand up there and host the show from beginning to end. That's a God-given ability. And there's a lot of people out there that are going to say, I don't know what my God-given ability is. I don't know what I want to do. I don't know this and I don't know that. And it's okay not to know. But it's always like I've said in this podcast, it's okay not to know, but it's not okay to not do anything. These girls, they didn't know, but they did it. And that's why they know. They didn't know that they didn't know that they knew the language. They didn't know that they could sing, but they did it. And that's why they know. And I think that was the most beautiful part, was that's a God-given ability. It's a God-given ability on their part. And I think for the first time ever, I lost a lot of my confidence when I left the industry a couple of years back.
yeah.
And in doing so, Saturday, it brought back a lot of that confidence to say to myself, I still got it.
You got this shit.
Yeah. And like what I want for my future, I know I can get it now. And this is what I'm talking about to like everyone, right? Everyone has a God-given ability. It's there. But you got to understand more about yourself. You got to understand what you want in your life. You got to understand all your faults. What's wrong with you? What you good at? And to confront those and say, maybe I'm not good at this. Or maybe I am good at this. And let me give it a shot. Let me give that little thing a shot. And it's okay. And to not listen to what society has to say. Because society has this thing all backwards where it's like, if you're not doing it full time, you are not that.
It's
And
stupid.
It's dumb as fuck. I had to take on how many part-time jobs. I had to do how many things to keep my career alive. And here, look, I'm able to put together a concert. I bought a brand new gaming laptop just to stream for this concert.
You bought walkie-talkies that we didn't end up using at all.
I bought a lot of equipment so that I could make sure that no matter what,
We were prepared.
we
no
were
matter
going to
what.
be prepared.
Yep.
And the one thing that I said for the last 3 to 4 months was, don't be stressed because you got to plan for the unplanned.
Yep.
And we were planned for the unplanned. And that's why it worked. because no matter what, there was a backup under that backup, under the backup, and under that backup.
Yeah, because even if people were changing their minds on, like how they were going to do things, that day,
Yeah.
like 30 minutes, no, 10 minutes. 10 minutes before we were going live, the order changed completely.
Yep.
Like
We changed
the order
3 or
because
4 people, and
because
that changed the whole order.
exactly, and because you had set up everything to go in order as to how the list. 10 minutes before, they were changing scripts or we were changing order. Like there was a lot of things that were constantly changing, and so each time we were like as someone was going live, we were like, okay, this person's going next, and this and this and this, because it was changing, and that was for you. That's stressful.
Oh, it
because
was hella stressful just
because
because
you like things planned
Yeah.
properly. Like you like it. Okay, like this is what's gonna happen. This is what it like. You like to know,
like
and I don't blame you.
I planned everything so accordingly that I did all the math for the time to add up in a total time. But now let me say this too, right? Is when you trust your God-given abilities and you trust everything about yourself and about your team, miracles happen. And what I mean by that was we started at 7 and we ended exactly at 9 p.m.
Oh yeah.
And exactly 7 to 9. And that's what I call a God-given miracle, when we trust our God-given gifts.
Yep.
Okay. And to wrap things up, I just want to say to people, everyone has a God-given ability, but you got to be willing to go through the hardships of understanding what that God-given ability is. My God-given ability took me 10 years to understand. And even now, I'm only just understanding and just utilizing properly. But everything that I've learned within the 10 years has come to a point where I can have everything that I have here and everything that I've done so far. And this is 10 years of me learning everything.
Yeah.
And even for this concert, I learned everything from scratch. I haven't touched a Windows PC in over what?
Like officially, like you've had it here and there, but you
9 years now.
officially, yeah, like
Officially
full time
9
too.
years. And I've learned everything because I had to trust my God-given abilities to get me to where I needed to get. And you got to trust the process, trust yourself, trust everything that you know you're capable of. When I said we were going to do this concert, it no longer became a joke. It now became, we will do this concert.
Yep.
And we're going to rock the shit out of it. And that night, we rocked the fucking crap out of that thing.
Like your sister, her track skipped, and she, you know what? She continued on as if nothing happened, and we were just telling her like keep going, don't stop, because every other person's track that was with us in the studio, it didn't skip.
Yeah.
Your sister skipped, but she kept going. And then your cousin, she was really nervous. I felt like at some point she really, was feeling the pressure and she wanted to cry, because, and I don't blame her. I would have cried instantly. But it's like I said, all the girls did an amazing job, and I'm just so proud of them. I'm proud of our team, and it was amazing.
Yep.
You really have to trust the process, and trust that. Have trust in yourself, especially. That is very important.
Yep. When it comes to being rich and famous, never strive for rich and famous. Strive to use your God-given abilities to better everything within your life. You got to look at everyone within history that is rich and famous. They're not rich and famous because they wanted to be rich and famous. They were rich and famous because their God-given abilities were used in a way that made them rich and famous. And that's what I'm saying is, don't focus on things that will make you a lot of money. Focus on things that will make you the happiest that you're ever going to be. And learn to live within the means of your happiness. I wanted to say thank you so much to all the listeners that have been listening up to this point. We hope that you like this video content. This is the first time that we are doing this.
I know. I'm actually kind of nervous how it's going to look because I get very fidgety and I apologize. I'm really sorry.
What you see is the reality of what our podcast looks like. It's literally just
In our
within our
living
home.
room.
Yeah. Like we changed our whole living room into an office space.
Yeah.
And we took everything out of our living room and put it into our bedroom.
Yeah. It's not really a living room. It's like you said, it's an office space.
But we hope that you really enjoyed this content. And we are going to continue doing this video format as well. So thank you so much. And if you do appreciate it, now you can go and follow the YouTube channel. I think for now we're just gonna post it up on Statues Collective. Yep. And then we'll see how everything goes from there. And
we might transition. We might even just start a channel for just our podcast. But
But we'll see how everything goes for now.
Yep.
Once again, thank you so much for all the listeners and all the viewers now. This is the end of our podcast. This is your host and your co-host signing off. Bye-bye.